Industry. Previously, we got established and got vaguely secure. And in the process finished up all manner of basic first tier scientificy. You know what? Time to reverse the flow. More material. More demands. There is much to be done. This time, I'm going to go about implementing a few new devices, few new materials in order to move up into the solidly mid-game ways and means of industry. It's time for green science. Green is composed of one arm and one conveyor belt. Takes 6 seconds of work, base time, one of each component, to produce a green beaker. So to keep pace with some number of red producers, we need just slightly more of green, and then an appropriate mix of other productive methods in order to keep them operational. We also need space. We have created space. Now, perchance to green. See, I'm running 8 of those. Would need about 9 or 10 greens to go at exactly their pace. Alternatively, I could add 2 more red smiths onto the pile here. Have an even 10 and 12. Or, when appropriately fed, a rate of just, 2 bits per second. A little less than that in practicality, since these don't run at crafting speed 1. But close. Would also require a bit more rearranging relevant component bits, at least if I do it on this end. Just as well run the new bits over there. We're also going to need more electrical output. Which, let's just go ahead and quickly check up on things here. Fuel coming in fine enough to keep these boilers running at full speed. So it is the case that we're going to need another array of turbines. And probably also in response to that, more fuel input. We've been running on just the 2 drills for a while. We can improve. There we go. Fuel up. And I could just as well install the turbines now. Just go grab a fistful of plates. Plates and rocks. Yes. That frivolous outer layer of wall that I'd... Alternatively, they may be attacking at just a slightly off angle from where it initially set up the security. I put defenses on this wall and gave them a bullet feed. We're getting the actual provocation happening a ways off from where I'd anticipated. Just relocate these guns. And just go ahead and redirect these. Good as new. Now then. Power. Not quite. Wrong hotkey. Much better. Setup could also benefit from a load balancer. Whereby excessive fuel can be appropriately carved up and redistributed. There. Good. The coal is appropriately shuffled. As it should be. Alright, so that's power orchestrated for a while. So, let's generate green. And in due time, destination, feed green along this line, diffuse here, and enter the labs. And that we have intent to run 12 generating factories. Belts and arms go down the middle. Science exits through the sides. Now, to generate the ingredients. So we'll be looking for 2 of these every 6 seconds. Conveyor belt takes only half a second of work to make. 1 conveyor belt factory should be able to handle itself quite well. And said lone conveyor belt factory. Easily fed by a single gear mill. Iron goes here. Science will follow. Now to make the necessary regular arms. These are also very quick, half-second projects. Each of which will need a gear and a circuit. And really, since the one gear turns into 2 belts here, this only needs to devote every other cycle of work to producing belt in order to be up to date. So we can maybe just also tap into this gear mill for our other job. Let's set this up over here. I've which to combine. So yes, now I then just need a belt which will feed plates and circuit boards to this machine here. For which the board itself, also a half-second job, just needs plate and cable. Slightly more than 1 cable mill's worth of output. Copper must go here. Iron plates must also go here. Iron here. Copper here. And science will follow. Also need to feed a little extra belt along here. Yeah, it's gonna need a moment for one of these to successfully back up. The north wall is now also under attack. The loudness of our new turbines has attracted friends. Our alluring industrial musk. We'll have to make them welcome. Grab more drills. Alternatively, I have the materials for them right here. Should be a power line out by the road. Gotta grab more lines. Alright, now that we're over here. Makes it a bit of fuel. We'll be right with you, folks. Patience. The kids these days. We'll also need arms. Alright, that'll do for the moment. Stop yap and we'll just go grab some appropriate material. Big fresh stack of arms, drills. Briefly set the machine to make more drills. Science be done. Oh, we have just gained access to a wondrous new, expensive, demanding, but equally rewarding field of industry. We have the fundamentals of oil, although in order to start doing any of that, we will need to break into something we figured out a while ago but didn't dabble in: steel. It's time to make steel. Let's see what to throw on the pile next. Now that red and... actually, yeah, advanced processing. We must attain a step beyond iron. We also need to locate some oil, but we already know. There's oil over there. Gonna get that oil. To facilitate that, let's just go ahead and create a separate feed out of this iron pile here. Steel, as described, is iron but more so. Produced by just sort of taking iron that you already have and feeding it back into the furnace a second time. So for the time being, we're going to create a little secondary refinery zone in order to produce that entirely for its own purposes. Right, I should go install the arms to actually bring that bullet machine up to full power. Currently working on very limited capacity. Oh, I'm not unloading the bullets onto the fight line. There. Hell of a thing to debug. Problem solved. Just-in-time bullet delivery. I want to further expand upon this bullet machine, since we're going this direction. We'll need plenty of violence throughput if we're gonna break out here and go claim those oil deposits. Right, in service of that, let me think about this here. 2 plates in 2 seconds to make a bullet. Plate itself takes 3.5 seconds to smelt. Yeah, now they're actually running at speed, I could actually feed a lot more furnaces into each of these bullet mills. Give them a chance to build up a surplus of material, and then hopefully a large enough stockpile of violence will provide all the necessary load when the time comes to break out and do an attack. Now then, steel. Looking to sneak all of that material out this way. each of the refinery complexes as they exist at this point is actually not going to remain in use in the long term. I'll rebuild the whole thing from scratch at some point, in service of greater scales of productivity. For now, though, this will do. Where one might think that I could just have the furnaces hand from one of them to the next, and that could work reasonably in some contexts. However, I have to mix the fuel back in as it stands. They need new fuel to burn. Grab a couple military upgrades. Those will also help facilitate the raid. So yes, the structure as it will exist, we will bring in fuel to there and fuel to there, or to here. And steel will emerge from the far side. Need a fresh fistful of milk. Carrying these beakers. Those don't belong in my hands. Your box. Go be learned from. Yes, built. There's the split. And right, apply power to all these arms. And you can see here the second row of furnaces. And iron plates, which await reprocessing. Mighty steel. And so it begins. Now, one of the first uses for steel that we've developed is this lovely fellow over here. The upgraded furnace. Works twice as fast as the regular furnace, while consuming power at the same rate, thus getting you both material twice as fast and twice as much material per unit fuel. It's a powerful tool. One which will allow us to intensify the number of drills feeding into each of our refinery complexes by quite a bit. Made from steel and bricks. Bricks like these. The various stone furnaces we'll be replacing will find continued use, being repurposed as boilers for steam turbines. A noble cause. And really, the most pressing application I would have for those very same furnaces, one, turn up the rate at which we're producing this steel, which the reaction here works out so that your furnaces, you stack them up one for one. Takes 5 iron to make 1 steel, and a steel takes around that much longer. What is that exact rate? Yeah, exactly 5 times. Good. Say, do this. Here begins the Age of Steel. Yeah, we'll turn steel into more steel, and then number 2 on the list of places to start applying our new steel furnaces. Actually, over for that bullet factory. Double the iron processing, double the bullet throughput. I believe for the most part, levels of funk are just directly proportional to power output. Or steel furnaces should indeed possess a more powerful musk. Well, actually no, they should have equal musk, all things considered. That's the point I was working towards. Hear them sizzle. We could also use the steel to engage in more powerful bullets. But I think regular bullet is still strong enough for what we'd like to use it for at the moment. And itself, perhaps, on the verge of obsolescence. In the long run, bullets, their primary use will not be for direct violence, but as an ingredient in various advanced machinery. Some reactions require bullet. And yes, the improved melting speed on the steel furnace means that you can now run electrical drills at a 1-to-1 ratio. At present, these humble stone furnaces cannot keep up with the bullet machines. We can rebuild them. Even then, they've been hard at work. Want a couple more turret to work with. And yeah, I already have a healthy fistful of wall for field fortifications. Because, yes, our next objective... try to get out here and secure this oil well. Probably in the process... get more gun. Probably in the process also secured this whole area. This whole square beyond the lakes here. Gonna put us into more direct conflict with this big hive cluster there. For that we're going to need minigun, and possibly want to take a more proactive stance and actually start removing some of the hive. For which we will need more bullets. That or yet stronger post-bullet means of violence. We'll see. I'd like to try this with bullets. Give them a chance to have a nice, tangible accomplishment under their belt. The steel pit doing as it should. Means I can then set aside steel for all these lovely boys. Once we actually get out there and secure the place, it will be time to do oil. For which we need much steel and much other materials. A new era. I could try to upgrade more of these, but you can see visibly on the line here that we have is very much keeping up with all these drills. Really wouldn't do to reorganize any of that. The coal mixer is saturated, all is well. Or lower furnace. Never even activated properly. Into the fight with you. There. Yeah, these things are able to generate an iron every 1 3/4 seconds? And a bullet machine needs 1 per. So 7 of these would feed 3 gun mills, maybe? Something like that. The real biting question. How much of that capacity will be needed in order to conduct the fight at the far end of the line? Question we'll soon answer, because we're going on an adventure. Rates of production looking good. Need more belt. We've already covered half the necessary ground. There's our oil splotches there. There's the nest that directly threatens them. The other, yet larger nest beyond isn't quite inside of our current haze. But it'll definitely be drawn in when we actually start pumping that out. We'll probably do our refining over here on the lakeshore. Fortunately, the conveyor belt itself does not draw aggression. Monsters will generally ignore it unless left already angry and otherwise confused. Belt and power lines and a couple other infrastructural things just don't cause any aggression on their own. Of radar we've left running has gone and pulled us up a nice larger picture of the area. We have another lake we could latch onto there. We'd probably, as the factory matures, envelop this other clearing as well. Clear it relatively inexpensively, just going from that corner to over here. Out around that way. That'll integrate nicely, in particular, you know, for securing the well, that's another point that we can strike out from. I have never found any pressing need for more than one radar. You have company. Not quite really. See, those ones didn't notice us directly. They're drawn to the stench. Right, I also need to bring power out here. In general, and also in specific for doing the raid. The one radar we've been running has probably already revealed more material than I will need to get to space. Just a matter of using it. We'll grab more arms. Grab more arms, maybe have the 6th turret in hand. Okay. Let us begin. The ritual proceeds thusly. But yeah, just to make it a little more even, one last gun. festivities begin. Let's now proceed more cautiously. We are rapidly nearing full engagement. We'll go ahead and immediately contradict the previous statement and instead become more cavalier. I think we're about in range of the... yeah, we're very close. In fact, we actually have to execute a turn if we're gonna get into appropriate approach on the hive itself. So, let us attempt... yeah, that should do it. Duct maneuver. This setup might even achieve enough power to actually punch through into the rest of that cluster. Hard to say. Definitely need to bring more support in. Some of them were able to deal damage. This is where we gotta focus up. However, we have managed to puncture one node. Continue on this course and we'll get the other two. That'll bring us up to the verge of engaging with the bigger hive. I think once we've managed to overtake that, that'll be the moment to then deploy the walls and otherwise start to curtain off the area. Evidently, we have a quite adequate level of bullet throughput. I set up all 8 of these guns as one battery, should be able to withstand the other nest. We are now in reach of orbs. I believe at some point I vaguely hinted at a role that the wildlife played in productivity. See, nature is not the enemy of Factory. Nature is an element of Factory. Evolution is nature's production problem. It'll be some time before we gain access to it, but these orbs are a valuable ingredient. Local wildlife is the only known means by which to refine orbs. There we go. This step will put them into range of that one. And then I think I'll dig in, because that is many, many more spawners, which would be able to apply a lot more monster throughput. We might be able to take them on with just regular bullet technology, but I think I'd prefer to pay them the proper respects with a more advanced weapons platform. We'll just eyeball out how I want this. Belt out here. As an element of how I want to set this up is that actually like fort geometry and planning, a square corner is a weak point, kind of fundamentally. Stop a moment and ponder how I've been setting up these guns. You might consider that if we, supposing an attack from any direction, if we had a corner sitting up here, there'd be one gun right out there in the thick of things that would get the bulk of enemy attention, while sharing, protective bubbles with the fewest of its friends. Whereas by cutting the corner off and instead sinking back and making more of a polygon, we smooth that out. The ideal fortification would be circular. But on a grid that cannot be achieved. I think maybe just throw a 9th gun turret down there, and then we'll call that an array. That will provide an abundance of security. Oh, hello. There's a whole other hive over here. That's probably the one that's actually been raiding our border this whole time. I guess I'll also want to install some more gun that way. Yep, got ourselves a to-do list. Get half these bullets to carousel back on themselves. We've wound up holding on to 600 of them in our pockets just from all the residual scooping up of parts. But yeah, there's probably more than enough just wall sections built up in our various automated systems. Go about establishing security over there. Certain wall down to here. And we'll have oil. And yeah, we have a healthy backlog of ammunition waiting to go off an adventure. Godspeed, noble bullet. All while using just a little over half our power generation capacity. And the labs are running smoothly. The wall. I have wood I can drop off as well. Have that processed into its appropriate byproducts. Off you go. And just a review here. Just need to grab additional iron and copper. We're gonna need a bunch of these, a couple of these, and probably just one of these for now. Each of those nouns will be further explained shortly, when we begin to develop the refinery. Might pave some more walkway up there, yeah, since this is going to be a common transit corridor. Clear a path through these woods more decisively around there. All to do. Much to do. Right, I also want more gun. These gun are migrating. Their current position is obsolete. They have a new mission. For which I will smith them up some brothers. That's right, I'm obstructing your migration routes. Deal with it. Oh yes, looks like right about here is the spot. It's leaving how much buffer? Fixed wall and gun. Just the one tile. Set this up pretty well due south of the cluster. Sensible. And once more the carousel. Storage and cycling. Alright, so now we just have to extend this wall southwise. Possibly set up further gun over this way as well. So once we are pumping and refining the oil, that will probably provoke these guys to go north as well. But previously, they'd only had reason to go south, or east. Toward the south of our current factory. Just see to that right away by splitting the main bullet belt. With steel, we could also get ourselves a set of medium body armor. Well, it calls itself heavy, but it's middle of the road for the absolute scale. It is simply the case that future armors will not be about larger, but instead smarter. Yet more bell. Further bullet speed upgrade. Let's see. Where to go? What to do? I've been effectively idling the research by just having it work on all of these various other things. Yeah, let's get the better electrical poles. That's something we can work on. We'll be moving up to steel. Oh, wait, more bell? Yeah, more bell. Electrical poles later. Mostly, you could very reasonably, like, tech forward at a rate that you wouldn't have much time to, like, stop and appreciate all of the various things that you bulldoze over in pursuit of science. Now I'm feeling informative. Demonstrative. So I'm making time for things. Like, again, with the amount of material we have enveloped just with our, like, first generation of security stuff, I could probably build a substantial portion of the way through the tech tree. Just wanted the bullet era to get a bit of a chance to shine. And also, yep, we're starting to draw attention to the north wall. So this needs to be tended to. If not further agitated, they do in fact get bored and wander off. Wall has much use as passive defense. Thicken that bit up. I have vague plans to go after something that's going to greatly simplify all defense planning. In due time. Keep that inner wall for now as a bit of a just backup in case any of these suffer a breakdown. We're reasonably secure though. This level of wildlife agitation. Walls more than do the job. The wall on its own gives you enough of a delay that you can very reasonably respond to security problems by hand. As long as you have the foresight to set up said walls and keep yourself appropriately armed. There we go. Security. Through adequacy. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. 11 oil deposits just in this immediate cluster. And another 7 over in that deposit, a not unreasonable distance away. Pretty good starter oil block. I haven't queued the necessary products. As you make your way up the tech tree, more advanced buildings become increasingly expensive in terms of effort and materials. And crafting one oil pump doesn't take an outlandishly long span of time. And crafting a dozen oil pumps leaves you reaching for the blueprints. Wait a minute, I can streamline this! Indeed you can. We're also going to need an extensive amount of pipe. We now finally have other fluids to work with, and work them we shall. Much will come of oil. Another way that you can use splitters is, you might notice, with the symmetry there, you could actually feed things into both sides of the splitter, and it will have them, alternate between going to the same sides and swapping places. There's probably some elaborate logistical sorcery you could use with that to create, like, staggered, mixed, alternating input lines of things. For the most part, load balancing is the main trickery you would do with using all 4 points on the belt splitter, where you have 2 potentially uneven input lines, and you smash them through an array of like 3 or 4 of these that jumble them all around such that when they come out the other side, they're reasonably spread out. Alright, so I may as well spoil things by looking out here towards the end point of my objective. Defense, made easy. For which, plastic. Plastic is next on the go. Plastic, and need to sort out batteries as well, and those are under sulfur. Sulfur into battery pack. Alright, start to learn that, since each of those is also an application of oil. Oil will bring us security. Oil will keep us safe. Oil begins with a pump. Let's see, these tightly packed ones I actually want to if we can eyeball out how to get the material out of them with the minimum number of pumps. Sort out where there's actually space to slip them all through. And we'd have 2 rows on the quick bar there. Very convenient. Oil. Nature's coal. Since my manual build queue is going to be held up for a fair span of time with all these artisanal oil pumps, I'm actually going to go ahead and employ my technologies to get something else sorted out here. Because I can do this with science. We have all the bullet we need to man the wall right now, so instead let's turn this extra iron into pipe. Gonna need a bunch of pipe. There are lights you can build that will generate illumination while it is dark, free electricity. I've never found much use for them. I'm always able to just find my way around by the light of the machinery. If you find things too dark around your plant, just build more stuff. There's a shortage of light. Get more furnaces. There we go, we're nearly to the end of the pumps. And let's see with all that. Set the refinery up over here, because that also leaves it in a good position to receive from the other field once that goes online. And with that in mind, just pivot all of these thus was. Yeah, refinery here, and then pipeline can deliver. And let's see, with a dense pump layout like this, it's also important to sort out where you can even fit the power lines. They start fighting for space with the tubes. Alright, that will be ready to take flight in a moment. Tanker cars for trains are a thing that was being worked on as of, like, the patch that's being worked at the same time this stream is going on. My knowledge, they were not yet in the available experimental build. Right, I need to just store my orbs somewhere. No sense carrying around these valuable orbs when they could be nice and secure at home. It will live over here, right next to the labs. Those are gonna be your home someday. Orb is secure. Alright, so sort out some tube. And now, the decision. Well, a decision, and that isn't too hard. Just thinking which way I'm gonna point the refinery. The bits up or send the bits down. I'll send them up, there's more space to work with in that direction. Upward, outward, to the future. So, the way oil works, in general, comes out of the pumps, goes into tubes. Deliver the crude oil to the refinery. At the refinery, crude oil gets broken down into the three fundamental flavors: heavy, light, and gas. Which are then released through these output tubes. Then, this jovial fellow, the chemical plant. It's a factory, but for liquids. This will be used to convert those oils into other products. Gonna put some distance between them so that I have the chance to, just have room to get them nicely entangled for shenanigans. Where, over time, naturally, you get more recipes for how you can do things with these substances. For now, we have 4. Well, 3 variants on one and a different product. We generate lubricant from heavy oil, which doesn't do anything right now, it's just another fluid. Or, we can take any of the other oil flavors and convert them into solidified fuel. That's what we're going to be up to for the moment. Cubed oil. Or, wait, yeah, set these up the other way. fluid handling becomes increasingly perilous because regular tube is an obstacle to movement, and tube placed next to tube automatically tries to combine. And you can't mix more than one fluid in a tube. It doesn't work. Never cross the tubes. Little redundancy on the grid. And so it begins. Pumps into pipes. Pipes to refinery. Refined goods. To the future. We can go ahead and tally up here this new establishment. The refinery itself pulling 430 kilowatts. Pumps together, adding up to nearly a megawatt of power. And the chemical plants pulling 600 to 700 kilowatts, depending on how heavily they're engaged. From which the cube. For comparison, a wooden log, 4 megajoules of fuel energy. Not now sulfur. I am talking about cubes. You'll learn about plastic. A wooden log, 4 megajoules of fuel energy. A lump of coal, 8 megajoules of fuel energy. 1 fuel cube, 25 megajoules fuel energy. Keep in mind that we also just doubled the efficiency of our fuel-burning furnaces back home. We have now quadrupled. Or wait, no, just over triple. Yeah? Triple? Yeah, triple. Yeah, tripled the energy density of our fuel. Behold, the future. Coal is out. Cube is in. These belt splitters for the ammo line remix. This new fuel line, the future begins. See, I think I will split this as well. I have one branch that will patch into the old factory as just a legacy power supply. And then with the other half of that, we'll go about building that aforementioned shiny new refinery complex. Built from the ground up to accept all manner of materials from some manner of vague external source. Look at all this coal. Look at yesterday's fuel. The way of the past. Your old news. Coal is dead. Not actually truly dead, just dead as a fuel source. It's in fact now wasted as a fuel source, because with the cube, the supreme source of burnable fuel, coal is much better off doing all the other non-fuel things that coal is good for. You're learning all about them soon. Leave this drill in the corner for now. Sure, why not? The world of tomorrow. And let's see, I may as well at least have the courtesy to go around this coal patch, since I am going to be working it for, whoop, reasons. With that, I've burned down my original supply of shotguns to shell. Fortunately, there's more than one way to fell a tree. Mechanically precise. Though not actually as good at felling tree. Oh wait, no, I just run down the one stack of I had a spare bullet pal. Many more bullet in the pocket, good. A whole other box. Behold. Behold the future. The arm of tomorrow. To dispose of the fuel of today. Get it all out of the system. The future. Alright, I've inhaled as much coal as I can. Go about this the more productive way. All that existing coal deserves a good home. Ah, I borked it. Bork cleared. Making plenty of steel. Alright, you know, it's something I could get out of the way. Aside from moving more of these structures properly over onto my bar. There. Stray things that would be ingredients in these products. I can just shove them there. All this old stuff is going to be running long enough that it's worth converting it up to steel. Ah. You ran down your original footprint. Good job. You get to move deeper. Okay, convert up all of you. And all of you. Well, the last of you. The few iron stragglers, even if most of them are going to sit idle. Sometime. Barring any, like, drastic realignment of current interior. Oop. Ah, we've drawn new friends. The refinery itself has gotten attention. And I need a fistful of copper to make into more guns. Yeah, if they actually break into the refinery, that's a proper emergency. That stuff's valuable. No, they're just chewing on power lines. Yeah, there we go. Don't even need to set up new infrastructure. Love all the coverage I need from there. Right, battery. Some of this belt was damaged as well. Fortunately, we have extremely good bullet density right now, thanks to proper production planning. Chemical plant is unharmed. the oil will flow. And you can see there the pumps are currently putting out more than enough oil to keep this refinery fed. Over time that will change. You can see each of these has an output rating that will slowly bleed down over time but never completely vanish. A pump will at worst put out 0.1 oil per second. And over here you can see, oh, over here the reaction that we have is 10 oil per 5 seconds. An array of 20 of these pumps, even if completely otherwise depleted of material. Even when they're just scraping the barrel, that is still enough. Keep one refinery going all night, all day. And that's just with the current reaction. There are other ways to break your oils. There we go. Security. So the moment we have our next major defense tech breakthrough, I'm probably going to go on a bit of a rampage. And I will just try to clean out this whole kind of super cluster of hives that we have around this lake. Yeah, that'll then secure us the rest of the oil. Substantial iron deposit. Convenient choke points to shorten the defense lines. Just all around be a fine adventure. But for now, the walls are strong, the guns are fed, and the cube will flow. I am running 2 of these light oil condensers, because this reaction here actually uses the least raw material out of each of our condensing formulas. Yeah, the condensing gas and condensing heavy oil both take 2 per cycle, whereas the light oil only takes 1. That is then further compounded by, well, actually no, the reaction at the plant puts out slightly more gas than the other 2 types. But yes, if we didn't have appropriately ratioed consumers, then you'd end up with a situation where one of these pipes would get clogged by an excess of material, and then the refinery would just stop and be bottlenecked by how quickly you're moving through that higher density stuff. These cubes have a future. These cubes are the future. The cubes of tomorrow. Today. Well, for one, definitely with the cube line I could go and add like a 3rd turbine array somewhere. Maybe with the original steam turbines. Maybe up here on this shore will be more convenient. I can definitely get all kinds of turbine running for yet more electricity. As we'll need soon, as we're running a solid 3/4 of our current capacity. But then also I can take this nice wide area here, try to properly section it out into a refinery complex. For just general purpose supplying of raw material, feeds from which will then be able to head through the peninsula, the isthmus, the bridge here, and then feed out into the production area that'll get reorganized and recertified as we go. Plenty of room on this bridge to shove several belts of regular material. Now I tear this wall down. Now that we've secured a future. Quickly do a move here. There we go. And just like that, we have 2 full wooden boxes of extra pipe ready to go. Good stuff. We'll need many pipe. Oh, hello there. Yeah, this is a mechanic. Most of the time won't come up, but... fish. When they wander close to the shores, you can just scoop them up. And they're a recovery item. And oh right, there's this bridge isn't really actually a bottleneck anymore because landfill is a thing we can research. We'll build islands. Lands wherever the hell I say it is. Water is just nature's walls. Experience these cubes. So box some more of this iron just to have it on hand and ready for things. So let's see. Yes, you are the remaining prereq. The prereq for the thing I want. Get that dragged in. Start getting this surplus stowed. Actually, yeah, for one, something I can do drop off these old furnaces for retooling. Find them a good home. Oh, and I have a few more. You weird stray coal deposits. They will also find a home. For as long as we're nearly leaving the Age of Bullet. We are one riddle of production away. For as long as we do live here, we'll be good tenants. Thinking, in order to make the layout more expandable, I'll actually make the individual rows of the refinery run horizontal here, and have them extend up in a stack, from which output pipelines will then be in position to all flow down over the bridge. Input can then be extended out arbitrarily widely over there, where there's plenty of space to approach from, all off in that direction. And for as long as we're using fuel-driven furnaces, starting off very close to our supply of cubes. So let's break ground. Well, right, electronics. Which have unlocked some other much more complicated things that we won't be building or using for a while, but electronics also come in many flavors. Red and blue go into much more complicated machinery. For now, the beam. And let's see, I'm also contemplating in setting this up. So the upper limit on the length of a column of refinery such as this is the throughput of the feed belt that you have running the material into it. Where right now, with regular belt like this, I think about a dozen fast arms pull material as fast as the belt can run it, or lay material as fast as the belt can run it, which is itself sort of a secondary thing to the furnaces only having a certain amount of throughput to them, and that's going to remain largely level for a while. For each furnace, we're moving a thing every 3.5 seconds. Yeah, with 12 of those. 12 things every 3.5 seconds. Dude, with that 3.5 number, I suppose I should be doing this in sevens? Multiples of 7? Do 14 on this side. Being sure to leave this little bit of space here, because this time this is the footprint that I would bother to upgrade with the newer, larger technology waiting deeper in the tree. Each of these would become a 3x3 device. Though leaving this bit of space lets me upgrade that with minimal fuss. Right, gotta go grab this full of wooden power poles. I should really start moving to steel electrical poles. The technology is here, and they are noticeably better than the wooden ones for reach and footprint and wire. Look at this. Look at this lovely cube furnace. Currently mixed fuel, but the future is here. Cube is now. Yeah, this poor thing is facing its final days. Not really, because what's going to happen once I've depleted this ore field is I'm just going to migrate all the drills to other fields and migrate the furnaces. In fact, let's accelerate that process. Now that we're at the point where I'm trying to just run this place down and move out of it. Move into more densely packed drills. I want this ore mined yesterday. There we go. Yeah, good 150. That should be as many as I'll need before I bother to research and institute production of steel electrical pole. Yep, power use is still okay. Bullet line is densely packed. Working on this. We're in, let's see. I actually have conveniently near reach. Book. We're in, this is probably the one that I wrote in way back when. Yes, I've ran a bunch of numbers. Did experiments about capabilities of things. And also noted numbers that have been looked up by other folks about capabilities of things. Here in particular, let's see. I put together a very helpful little table. Throughputs of arms. It also in turn converted into belt speed. Alright, so a basic belt is actually 6 arms fast, according to these old numbers that I have here. And eventually the highest tier of conveyor belt is 15 arms fast, in terms of if you just had nothing else holding up the arms and their ability to shove materials around could just go indefinitely. From which I can go ahead and reverse engineer that, yes, so this belt here, regular old common belt, moves about 720 objects a minute. 12 per second. Plus various inefficiencies that can crop up. So from those 12 objects per second, how much steel furnace can I reasonably run? Knowing that I am going to need a thing every 1.75. Run, if I'm reasoning right, 21 furnaces over that? Potentially. Though actually half of that while I'm using mixed fuel and material belt. Once I'm using both lanes for ore, by way of reasons. So I could potentially convert up to that immediately. For now it could suffice to say, and that's just with basic belt. The more advanced belts, which can exist in the future, will be able to surpass that. Where an advanced full-speed belt is nearly 30 objects per second. From which I could potentially run many more. You know what, sure, let's set this up as a big old 28 unit facility, which we will then just iterate on as needed. Because then further on top of that, I have left unmentioned that, well, the base speed of the advanced furnace is going to remain comparable to our current steel technology. The furnace that is, yeah, said furnace does have further ways to optimize its performance. We'll be able to fine-tune the whole setup. Lasers up. From that, won't even be able to build these right away because I need to set up battery production logistics. Something I can take to right after I have set up this little pilot row of the next generation refinery complex. The next level. And it is something that I must wait. Well, rather, something that I must set up facilities for. Because fluids cannot be worked by hand. Batteries involve fluids. Well, I suppose the battery itself doesn't, but the ingredients of the battery involve fluid. Anyway, there it is. Dump the fuel in there for now. I can draw on this little regional iron patch. Get it cleaned out of the way. Laughably tiny compared to how much material we'll be able to drive through that facility when it's operational. It's hunger beyond our wildest dreams. But it'll give it something to do. Just a warm-up. In the future, this area over here will be devoted to some manner of receiving and sorting facility, from which these and many other ores will be appropriately distributed to the various channels. Where it'll probably be the case of, like, having an array of sorter arms set up in a strip, ripping things off of a carousel to appropriately shove them down the maw. And for now, that can all just get shoved into a box. We'll be back for it. Grab some fresh arms. Be plenty of arms back at the main plant. Those bygone ages when 1,000 was a lot of iron. How times have changed. Yeah, I could easily fit another set of turbines in here, probably like rotate and have the turbines themselves run along this side. Supposing I don't invest in substantial landfill. Okay with having like one bent turbine array. Adds character. Oh, I could also start stockpiling the green as well. Have it all buffered up and ready to go. I think you can grab out of the mouth of the tunnel. Yes, you can. Good. There we go. Green will now accumulate. We have an extra 6,000 red science just sitting in crates. Not enough. Never enough. These labs will do for now. Actually, they are, in fact, the bottleneck at this point, so I might add more labs. Hard to say. It'll take some amount of intuition to suss out the right pace of research. Cube line starting to back up nicely. Making my a stack of boilers right here. Now this power line just goes nowhere. I never did secure that corner actively. We are slowly getting louder. How to get more stone furnace? I guess those were left over in the thing. Well, they're gone now. They have a purpose. Oh, you're actually cutting through over there. Alright. I guess I can go play with you. Oh, they've broken through even. Ugh, gross. Fighting our arms. Food. Fear not. Your bullets keep you safe. Where? Okay, I think that was just residual alert. Repurpose this. Here in the last gasps of the bullet age. What's my path of least resistance here? Oh. Every time I open a new corridor through the woods, I'm reducing its ability to sync our cloud, magnifying our loudness, further projecting our industrial stench. I'm okay with this. Those bullets died, so these bullets may live to die. almost there. Yeah, they're getting plenty feisty. Need to run a power line up to them. Wait, did I have power out to that corner? No, I didn't. I should. I can also run power through the woods. Yeah, have it hook up with the drills. There we go. Security. Safety in the age of bullet. Switch these over to further bulletsmiths to serve in the fun. Oh, hey, Brock. Not so tough now. And there we go. The future. Go ahead and throw in on some green level filler number go up stuff. Alternatively, yeah, let's actually grab landfill. 20 stones. No problem. Then I'll do numbers go up. Now, the future. Made of steel, circuitry, and batteries. Thus, I must make the battery. Iron, copper, and sulfuric acid. Aid in a chemical plant. Sulfuric acid itself made of sulfur, iron, and water. Sulfur made of petroleum gas and water. The oil age. Oh, I gotta pump some fluid. Make a pipe tunnel. Alright, not immediately, but... I will want this pipe to jump over some things. Fortunately, I just manufactured those thousands of units of pipe. Yes, of the oil components, petroleum gas is the one that does the most other stuff. To the point where I am actually going to go ahead and sever it from the cube line. At the very least, let's see, I gotta make another chemical plant. Or two. Two-step process. First sulfur, then the acid. I'm going to set this up so that any additional gas that makes it out will have the chance to be converted into fuel, but I definitely want my acid generator to have first crack. Okay. Yeah, it's 3 chemical plants. Sulfur, acid, battery. There we go. Now the number go up. And upgrade lab speed. That will make the sulfur. This is going to be a painfully temporary setup where I just want to generate a moderate amount of battery right now. And in the long term I'll have to spread out and use more of this space to build elaborate chemical workshops. This also needs water. And why I've laid this pipe here. It'll be to the point where I'm actually just gonna employ some crates of metal to give me the relevant materials on hand locally. I will return. Grab a fistful of pipe. Burly mound of iron. And a full crate's worth of this stuff will last some time. There we go. Battery. Let those start to percolate. Soon the future. You know what, actually, while this thing is running in its current state, I could just dumbly feed all sorts of material into it directly. Give it a good stress test. Well, cramming like that hasn't given me too much space for power lines. A little bit of space. Just enough, since I'm not trying to work the whole field at once yet. You can see from that how more advanced power lines is something we're going to care about. I gotta reposition these, allow a gap. Grab a fistful and throw it onto the line here. There we go. Now also copper. Just a little bit. Just enough to get the splitter put in. The splitter to use as a merger. There we go. Science. Because mostly I wanted copper to feed into the battery maker. And let's just get another number to go up. So yes, if you have a bunch of lines coming in either of the same thing or of something that you don't mind blending together randomly, an assortment of splitters like this can be used as a combiner. Or you can see if we can even have a third input line feeding in right over there, by which to achieve a hearty blend. Yeah, that'll last a while. It has already put out 80 batteries. Good. So yeah, you can see on the throughput available to the single belt, we get about 6 furnaces in before everything they can feed in is getting grabbed. So they'd be able to make it out to 12 if I were using both lands. And then that'd last a little bit further if I were using faster feed. Drive in even more material. You can see on the receiving end that this input lane is as tightly packed as it can be. It is arriving at full density for the one lane. The future. A future which will demand much, much generation of electricity. So I'm just gonna dive over here and add that extra turbine complex. Well, let's see, yeah, we are... Yeah, peak consumption is pushing up closer to our current limits. We did just achieve all that extra fuel density, so it's not like we're hurting for fuel supply. We now have actually infinite fuel supply, because the oil wells are never fully emptied. Right, I'll need a separate pump feeding in their water. Solar power is actually quite good once you have all the production necessary for it in place. It just has a very large physical footprint. If space is no concern of yours, then it works just fine. Both for the panels themselves and for other supporting machinery that's needed in order to get yourself full 24-hour energy out of them. Greatest drawback of using solar is that you're then not using steam. And why would you betray steam? Your true and honest friend. You just real quickly spin me up some burner arms. Right, gears. Gotta have gears. Give me gears. Give me plates while you're at it. But also give me gears. Take your finest gears. I have a box here so I can just buffer these gears as needed. I'm a little low on regular build now. Alright, very well. I'll get back to you. Leave you sitting around. I have a situation which calls for pipe. So I suppose actually I don't quite need a tunnel. Yes, I do. Because these boilers are omnidirectional. They'll take and distribute fluid from whichever side they so please. For aesthetic's sake, I'd like to bypass that. Now then, I have these turbines. How best to arrange them? There, you see this water? This is your house. This is where you go. Slide the pump back a little farther. Like all the way back farther. There we go. Good. Cold water, hot water, all where it should be. Hot and cold running industry. Now for the other grid. There we go. Third set of boiler. And the missing ingredient for yet more laser is in fact copper. A turret assembler is entirely in the cards for later. For now, I just need the one elite hand-picked batch. The few, the proud. The amplified through simulated emission of radiation. Battery machine still running? Yes, just infrequently. By virtue of sulfur demands. Have the last of those back in the crate. We'll get a healthy supply of those. Just out of that storage. By the time I run that down, I will have... We'll have developed the necessary tools and have an opportunity to devote the attention to building a more elaborate chemical plant. Chemical plant here, receiving area for raw material here. Now let's pay respects to these stalwart defenders of the bullet era by introducing them to their successors. Looking good, boys. Looking good. Looking fine. Welcome to the future. With lasers, we now convert electricity directly into violence. See if I can walk these up to full engagement. We're kind of there. Substantial quantities of electricity are required to achieve violence. They have a noticeable idle draw while they're just sitting around waiting for action, and when they are engaged, they put pretty noticeable spikes on your grid. You can see here, let me just pop the graph out a little. Yes, when even this small number of laser turrets is engaged, they draw more power than basically the entire rest of the factory combined. That just means we need more power. With these, we have the ideal tool to harvest orbs. Establishing and scaling up laser turret production. Next thing on the to-do list. Because these are now the primary currency by which we finance expansion of the factory. How much stuff do we need? How much land must we hold? How many lasers must we build to hold it? Wherever we can draw power, we can draw blood. The very highest levels of enemy are dangerous enough that you need pretty stiff concentrations of laser to take them down. But for that, we build more lasers. We're going in. Not now, lab research speed. Let's get a laser upgrade. Laser, but better. Doing this while occasionally stopping to place new walls is how we're going to secure new ground. By and large. There are some other tools of violence that are quite effective, but this is just very reliable, very succinct. For the current level of bug activity, it's basically invincible. A nice, steady fortification block. And one of the things you do when you start using laser against more powerful bug is you accompany laser with wall and other support structures. And more lasers. Scoop up the orb. And eventually against... Whoop, hello, laser upgrade. Good, nice to see you. Damage. Get that too. Against the very largest of bugs, the answer is often just start building repair kits as well. You'll take some damage, that's cost of business. Yeah, another step over and we'll be as left as we need to be. Then straight up through the center. Right now we're fighting the lowest levels of bug. A blend of melee combat bug and ranged combat bug. The little ones just can't get close enough to do their move. Can't cover the ground and can't attack fast enough. Cannot survive against 12 lasers. A couple of hives left. Whoop. The worm. There we go, that's one of the things. Those are why I was hesitant to attack this nest in the first place. And one of the reasons that you will start using the other weapons as well, rather than just crawling with your lasers. They too have a laser. They too have a stationary defense weapon. And it seems the smaller of those are actually outperformed by our laser. But Large Worm is a quite capable defender. There we go. Hive depopulated. Orbs extracted. Our laser has only begun. And yes, now that we have this very good, dependable defense weapon, you don't even necessarily need to have full walls and fully stationed and staffed walls in order to cover an area and protect it properly. It's all a question of knowing where the animals are coming from, at what density, and how often. You can make do with smaller numbers of output. Like if I upgraded the fortifications on that corner, dug in over here, thereabout, then probably, like, you know, spiked down a little location over there. Couple laser there, couple laser here. replace guns with laser over there. That would be enough to call this whole area pretty safe. New hives can spawn if you leave area unoccupied. Mature and healthy hives will send out groups of monsters of their own accord every so often, and if they find large swaths of empty land with nothing on it, they'll just create new hive. There we go. This little fellow here, or this, but with a larger electrical pole, that's a pretty common structure that I will throw around all over the place for defense. Just a fortified utility line. One of those every so often along your main power lines is enough to keep a frontier secure. Good showing. The future! Okay, let's see. Those actually have overlapping fields of fire, so this is a kill zone. Anything that tries to wander between them gets diced up. I could even put them a little bit farther apart and still have that degree of coverage. I keep going north, though. I will actually actively engage that hive, and I could dispose of it, but I don't want to right now. That's unnecessary. Again, this gun post being here, probably one more a little farther along. Reasonably secures that iron. There. From that quick expedition, 230 orbs. Go drop these off in the vault. Yeah, let's get these. They'll be right there for the start of a whole new era. we'll continue to manufacture these bullets. Bullets do have intrinsic value all their own. There are things to do with bullets. I will gladly pre-establish a stockpile of them for later use. Just a couple boxes deep. Our grid looking good. There we go. There's adventure in graph form. The future. We have very long arms. Very good. The orb are secure. And so it begins. Next time.